Okay, so yun po yung contents ng chapter 33 and chapter 34 ng Book of Genesis. Again, we are looking at what we call the Jacob cycle. So, yung buong kwento kasi ng mga Israelites sa aklat ng Genesis, as I have time and again explained to you, it is characterized by the epic story of patriarchs. No? Pero hindi pare-pareho ang binigay pong treatment sa mga patriarchs. May mga minor at may mga major patriarchs. Si Abraham is obviously a major patriarch kasi mula sa chapter 12 ng Genesis onwards until the 30s, we encounter the story of Abraham. And then, obviously, the next big patriarch is Jacob. No? Dalawa lang sila, Abraham and Jacob. Isaac and Joseph, who will figure out at the end of Genesis, are considered minor patriarchs. In fact, si Isaac will only have one chapter kung saan siya ay talagang ipinokus bilang center ng kwento. And si Joseph comes as an incidental patriarch together with Jacob. But it's Abraham and Jacob. Si Abraham ang great patriarch ng lahat ng mga Middle Eastern people, all the nations of the Middle East. At si Jacob naman, ang great patriarch of the land of Israel. The 12 tribes, they all come from the sons of Jacob. Ang binasa natin ngayong gabi, yung chapter 33 and 34, particularly, tell us about the homecoming of Jacob. So, just to refresh ourselves a little bit, si Jacob kinailangan umalis kasi naging mainit ang damdamin ni Esau sa kanya. Si dalawang beses niyang naisahan si Esau. No? So, yung una, was a time when Esau was coming in from a hunting game and he was so famished, masyado siyang pagod at gutom. So, pero bago siya pakainin nung ginagawang pagkain ni Jacob, pinasumpa muna siya na lahat ng birthright ay ibibigay niya, isasalin niya kay Jacob. Now, that is not so serious kasi nga, although it is a agreement between brothers, alam natin na the only person who can actually give the birthright will be the father. But yung nga, still Jacob with Rebecca, the mother, conniving, got the birthright. At yun yung parang naging last straw. So Jacob left, and as he left, doon naman niya nakita yung kanyang swerte, sabi nga natin, no? So, pagpunta niya sa bayan ng kanyang nanay, na si Rebecca, nakituloy siya sa kanyang uncle, kapatid ni Rebecca, si Laban, at sa dalawang anak ni Laban ay nakita ni Jacob ang kanyang gustong mapapangasawa. The real choice of Jacob was Rachel, no? The younger one. However, the custom was hindi pwedeng maunang ikasal yung younger one. Kaya Leah was given to Jacob as a wife without Jacob knowing it. No? Kasi nga, yung kostumbre ng araw na balot yung mapapangasawa during the nuptial rites. No? So it's only the next day that Jacob realized what happened. So anyway, all in all, he spent 7 years to be able to marry Leah. And he spent another 7 years in order to marry Rachel. And he spent 6 years establishing his properties from Laban. No? So, itong pagbabalik ni Jacob na atin pong natunghayan ngayon, easily, according to biblical scholars, could have been a period of 20 years of absence. No? So, 20 years na hindi nakikita ang kambal, no? Na si Jacob at si Esau. And so, in the last lesson that we had, Jacob was apprehensive. Medyo alanganin siyang makipagkita kay Esau. Talagang inihanda niya yung kanyang sarili. At the last time that we had the Bible story, it was the wrestling match between Jacob and an angel. No? So Jacob went into a deep prayer that night and wrestled not only with himself but wrestled with God. No? So sabi nila, the angel was actually God. Kaya lang in the Bible at times never directly tells us na yung nandoon ay ang Diyos. So, gumagamit ng angel para ipakita yung presence of God. Now, the significance of the last chapter that we read is that doon pala nag-ugat yung second name ni Jacob, Israel. No? So, which means to wrestle with God. El is God. So, Israel is one who wrestles with God. Now, matapos yung overnight na nangyari yun, we now are in Genesis 33 and 34. Makikita natin yung fear ni Jacob dito sa simula ng kwento natin. No? Halimbawa sa Genesis 33, kung saan talagang sumentro ang chapter sa pagkikita ng magkapatid after 20 years, you see how Jacob is a planner. No? Hindi naman ibig sabihin ng pangalang Jacob. Jacob means somebody who is clever, shrewd, tuso. No? So, Jacob, tuso. Gusto niyo na medyo mas controversial na translation, sweeting. Parang mga sweeta. Sweeting. Ito galing yung word na sweeting. Sweeting is actually a shortcut of the word Jesuitical. You try to Google what Jesuitical is all about. No? It's an accepted English term, no? Attesting to the unique character of the Jesuits. So, yeah. But don't tell that to the Jesuits. They might not like you. So, yeah. So anyway, how shrewd, no? How cunning, how tuso is Jacob? Makikita nyo kung paano niya inayos yung pakikipagkita niya kay Esau. Number 1, inarrange niya yung family niya. Kita niya yun? No? So, ang unang prinontan niya, yung 2 servant girls na concubine niya, kasama yung family nila. So, in short, kung papatay si Esau, ang unang mapapatay niya ay ang mga kabit. Yung dalawang concubine. Diba? So, ganun din ginawa, no? And then, after the two maids and their children, si Leah. Wow. Pero, nasa huli ang kanyang favorite wife. Si Rachel at this time, si Joseph, no? Si Joseph. So, nasa gawing likod sila kasama niya. So, makikita niyo how and Jacob was very clear about his priorities. At least, clear siya sa priorities niya, no? Kasi meron akong kinounsel isang beses, hindi niya alam kung ano ang priority niya. Sabi ko, tatlo yan. Sino dyan ang number one? Hindi mo kapamili. Sabi ko, lalaki ka ba? Sabi niya, oo, Father. Ba't hindi ka makapamili ka? No? Kasi pare-pareho ang timbang nila. Sabi ko, ibigay mo nga kung anong mga timbang nila. So, may mga tao pala gano'n, hindi mo kapamili. No? So, they would like to have them all. No? So, ito si Jacob, at least very clear yung kanyang priority. Another important thing that you notice sa encounter is that, Jacob was not only a planner, he also knew how to feed on the ego of Esau. No? So, sabi diyan, he bowed before Esau 7 times. 7 times. Nung araw, yun po ang tinatawag nila na royal salute. No? If you are going to give an emperor the most flattering compliment, you bow before the emperor 7 times. And automatically, he will make you his crony. So, ganun yun. No? So, 7 times siyang yumuko sa kanyang kapatid. Kaya nga sabi ng kapatid, sabi niya, ano ba ito? Ayan. Pinuna siya ni Esau. Kasi alam ni Esau ang kultura na yung ganong uri ng pagbibigay pugay is something that befits a king or an emperor. And then, the other thing that you take note, how cunning and street smart Jacob is, he managed to convince Esau to go ahead of him. Never let a Muslim walk at your back. That is a cardinal rule in Mindanao, even among soldiers. You do not make an ex-MILF soldier walk at your back. You always let him walk ahead of you. Kasi treachery happens at the back. So, ginawa ni Jacob, nag-pretend siya. Sabi niya, okay na, I have enough men to escort my convoy. And he allowed Esau to walk ahead. Now, pag-abante ni Esau sa verse 17 and 18, biglang lumiko ang convoy ni Jacob by another route. No? So, Esau thought that Jacob is going to go straight to Shechem. As Shechem was the last known place where Abraham stayed. So, he thought that Jacob will go there. No? So, but Jacob decides to go to Sukkot. Sukkot is a minor grazing ground. So, it was one of Jacob's way of trying to really size up yung kanyang kapatid. No? Ito bang welcome na ito? Is it a sincere change after 20 years? No? Or ito ba ay fasad lamang? No? Hindi mo mahirap yan. Mahirap eh. 20 years kayong hindi nakikita, 20 years kayo hindi nag-uusap, no? So, yun ang ginawa ni Jacob, no? Kailangan magman-man muna siya. So, although in verses 1 to 11, makikita natin yung change of heart ni Esau, no? Parang wala nang trace ng kanyang strong anger and feeling of hostility against Jacob. Nonetheless, Jacob was very careful. So, pinapunan niya si Esau, nireject niya yung offer na Esau would leave some of his men to escort Jacob's group. And then, he went to another place. How long did Jacob stay in Succoth? The estimate of Bible experts is that he stayed in Succoth for a period of 10 years. So, 10 taon siya nagpalipas doon sa Succoth bago siya umakyat o pumunta doon sa talagang place na gusto niyang puntahan, which is Shechem. The last post of Abraham and Isaac. Succoth, by the way, it means literally booths, tents, kubol. There is also a Jewish feast called the Feast of Sukkoth, or the Feast of Tabernacles, where the Jews would stay in tents for a week. So, Sukkot means booth. So, it's actually a place of temporary shelter by the name itself. Sukkoth, booth, tent. So, it means it's a place of transition. You do not stay in this place. Where is this? This is actually now part of the Jordan Valley. So, nag-swerve papuntang east ang convoy ni Jacob. Instead of going down south, Jacob swerved southeast to Jordan, the area of Jordan, the valley of Jordan, where there are good gracelands also. Kasi, sa bagay, isang argument din kasi is that he had to let his flock recover. After a long journey, kailangan alalayan mo yung iyong mga dalang mga tupa, mga baka, So, you have to let them recover from the long journey, and this could be a good place because it's a valley, meaning it enjoyed the yearly overflow of water from the Nile, from the Jordan River, and therefore, it is a place of greeneries. Mas maraming makakain ang mga hayop dito sa lugar na ito. Now, Jacob stayed therefore in Succoth for 10 years. He built an altar. See the way of the patriarchs. They built an altar. He built an altar, and he called the altar El Elohe Israel. El Elohe Israel. God is the God of Israel. So it is a way of professing the faith. So, pero dalawang ibig sabihin ng kanyang pagtatayo ng altar dito. Una, ang pagtatayo ng altar, syempre, is a way of dedicating the place to God, thanksgiving to God. But the other one is, you claim the place. You put an altar, you claim the place. Bakit ganon? Kasi ang belief ng mga tao nung araw, kapag tinirikan mo na yan ng dambana, place becomes the territory of your God. And anybody who tries to violate and come into the place will actually be going against your God. It will be a curse to go against it. So they viewed God during these times as a territorial God. Kaya pag tinirin doon yung dambana ng Diyos, dapat magpaalam ka sa Diyos na yun bago ka pumasok sa lupain na yun. Kasi nandun yung kanya dambana. Oh, by the way, that is very much still the belief of Muslims. Kaya when the Muslims erect a mosque, not even the government can bulldoze the mosque. You have to convince the Muslims to be the one to also dismantle the mosque. Pag hindi, gulo yan. Territorial. Yan ang feeling nila. Territorial. Kaya pag nailagay na yung mosque dyan, hindi mo na mayan maalis. Not unless sila ang bumaklas. Na mosque na yan. So, ganun ka-sensitive itong mga issue nito. So, it's not a simple altar that is being placed there, but it was Jacob's way of really possessing the place. Possessing again the land of Sukkot. Now, after 10 years, we now go to chapter 34. Ang chapter 34 po, hanggang chapter 36, ito yung mga kwento ng mga later years ni Jacob. So, medyo matanda na rin si Jacob. No? So, simula nung siya ay umalis ng lugar ni Laban, Jacob was already also in his elderly years. Now, he goes to Shechem. Bakit Shechem? Well, yung Shechem kasi po, kung babalikan natin ang kwento ni Abraham sa Genesis chapter 12, you look at Genesis chapter 12, 6 to 7, you would see that in Genesis 12, 6 to 7, Shechem was actually the place where God promised Abraham the land. Genesis 12, 6 to 7. Likewise, it was also from Shechem that Abraham went to a very important place. So Shechem was the place where Abraham received the promise of God. And then from there, Shechem is a gateway to a holy place. The place where Abraham made his altar to God. Bethel. Magkadikit yun. Shechem and Bethel. These are places associated with the covenant of Abraham. So after 10 years, yung pagpunta ni Jacob sa Shechem and route to Bethel was his way of formalizing na siya ang tagapagmana ng covenant. No? So hindi si Esau. So babalikan ni Jacob ang Shechem at ang Bethel kasi ito yung mga sacred place ni Abraham. And Jacob now would like to really establish that he is the heir, the inheritor not only of properties, but most especially the inheritor of the covenant and the promise of God to Abraham. Now, sa kanyang pagpunta ng Shechem, yung Shechem pala ay pangalan din ng tao. You see? Shechem ay pangalan din ng tao. No? So, dito sa kwento natin, ang Shechem, ang may pangalan ng Shechem ay yung taong sumalbahe kay Dina na anak ni Jacob, anak ni Leah. Ayan. So, Shechem could have been a prince because the father, Amor, is in charge of the place. So, he named the place after his son, Shechem. So, Shechem could have been the inheritor of Amor. Now, what is very noticeable dito sa pagpasok ni Jacob sa Shechem is that dito nangyari ang isang bagay that he would never expect. Pagbalik niya ng land of Palestine, ang ini-expect ni Jacob na pinakamabigat niyang problema ay si Esau. Pero nung makita sila ni Esau sa Genesis 33, walang nangyari kay Esau at sa kanya. Esau, through the years, has, I think, processed his own anger. Pero, pagdating sa Shechem, na dating himpilan ni Abraham, doon nagkaroon ng problema si Jacob. So, we had the rape of Dinah. So, the chapter, ito chapter 34 is actually divided into two parts. No? Yung verse 1 to 12 is the story of the rape. And then, yung verse 13 to 31 is the story of the revenge. So, the rape of Dinah, and then the revenge done by the two brothers, Simeon and Levi, or Levi. Okay, unahin natin yung first part. Sino ba itong mga Hivites na ito? Kasi sabi yung mga Hivites, ito sila Shechem, at saka sila Amor, mga Hivites. The Hivites are also known by another name. They are also called Hurites. Hivites or Hurites. Hurrites. Hurites. It is noted that they are non-Semitic tribes. So, they are not coming from Shem. They are not, remember the three sons of Noah after the flood? Si Shem, si Ham, at si Japheth. No? So, yung mga Hudyo, they all come from Shem. Kaya nga Semitic, Semites. No? Etong mga Hivites o mga Hurites, they are not Semitic. So, the study is that they could have been coming from the tribe or from the family bloodline of Ham, who was the cursed son of Noah, si Ham. So, he was the cursed son of Noah. And because of that, there seems to be a natural animosity, a natural conflict between the Hurites and that's the children of Abraham who are Semitic. So, meron talagang, sabi nga natin sa bad blood between the two of them. No? May mga taong gano'n, no? Wala ka sinasabi pero basta nakita mo, no? Kumukulo na yung dugo mo. You have bad blood between the two of you. No? Hindi ka kinikipo. No? Basta nakita mo, iba yung effect niya sa'yo. No? So, ganun itong mga Hurites at saka mga Israelites, no? Mga sons of Jacob. However, tignan nyo, it seems that is the story of a doomed love affair. Bakit ni-rape ni Shechem si Dina? Kasi maliban sa magkalaban yung tribo ng Hurite at yung tribo ng Semites, it seems that Shechem was love-stricken. Talagang na-in-love. Kaya lang, hindi niya alam kung anong gagawin kasi magkalaban yung pamilya. No? Kaya binaanan niya sa santong paspasan. So, he never knows what's going to happen between the families. No? And then, saka siya nagsabi na gusto pa na niyang mapangasawa itong si Dina. No? So, yun po yung dynamics ng emotion sa likod. No? So, it's not a simple rape case, but it's the case of somebody in love, pero yung kanyang interest, love interest, ay parang mahirap niyang makuha sa normal na process kasi magkalaban ang kanilang pamilya. So yun na lang naisip niya. No? Unahan ko na. No? Pag naunahan ko na to, wag na choice. Parang ganun isip niya. No? Pero, okay. Now, if you follow the story, the very first issue raised by the group of Jacob was not the rape, but the fact that Shechem was of a different tradition, a different belief. No? So, ang issue was not rape. You know? The issue was uncircumcised. So, you know, verse 13, Jacob's son gave a cunning answer to Shechem and Hamor because Shechem had defiled their sister. We cannot do such a thing, give our sister to an uncircumcised man, for that would be a disgrace to us. Now remember, during this time, circumcision was the sign of the covenant with Abraham. That every Jewish or every Hebrew male was circumcised 8 days after birth, according to the covenant of Abraham. So yun ang dahilan nila. Ang issue is no longer the rape. The issue is the difference of belief. No? Now, very strong ito sa Bible kasi alam niyo po, sabi ko nga sa inyo, mismong pagpili ng asawa ng araw, ang tinitignan nila kung pwede kamag-anak. Kasi sigurado sila na kung kamag-anak yan, pareho ang kostumbre, pareho ang tradisyon, pareho ang paniniwala, at hindi lalabas ang naipundar. Yan yung mga issue Oh? So, kumbaga sa anibay na lang ito. No? Anibay na lang nila. But the point is, they don't really like that the Hurites will have anything with them. You think the Hurites are willing to intermarry? No? Sabi ni Hamor, sabi niya, you get our daughters and we take them as your wife. We take your daughters and we take them as our wife. No? So, for the Hurites, there was no problem of intermarriage. But, for the Israelites, it was the big issue. Kasi nga, the covenant had to be kept. Ano point, no? The covenant had to be kept. So, anyway, dahil doon sa ganong komplikasyon, yan, nagkaroon ng agreement, no? At the gate of the city, verse 20, they all came to the gate of the city, and that's where they sat down to make agreements. You know, the city gate is where the marketplace is. The marketplace is not inside the city. You don't put the market inside. If this is the city, and these are the gates, the city is walled. The market square is not here. The market square is in every gate. Bakit? People who come to bring items are of different tribes. So, you don't let them enter the center of your city. That is a security risk. Huh? So, the market square is located at the gates. So, doon nag-uumpukan sa gate. Kaya kung magkagulo, madaling isara. Oh. Yung mga hindi taga-syudad ngayon, pwera lahat. Sara. Oh. Kaya yun ang security nila. So they met at the gates. The Hurites from Shechem met met Jacob and his sons at the gate. They sat down and they make a contract. It's also a good place because that's where many of the people are. So they become witness of the contract. Kasi nung araw, wala naman yung mga dokumentos. Wala. Walang kita mga attorney at doon nung araw. Mga notaryo publiko. Walang ninonotaryohan nung araw. Kasi walang mga dokumentos. So, the more witnesses there are, the better. Kasi that formalizes the agreement. It's verbal. Ano yung verbal agreement? Umuo si Shechem at yung kanyang mga kasamahan na sila ay magpapa-circumcise. Agreement yon. I am stressing this kasi later on, this will make us understand what happens at the end. So, nakipag-agree si Jacob, tatay ni Dina, at yung mga magkakapatid na lalaki, umupo sa square at hinarap itong si Amor at si Shechem at lahat ng mga tao ng Shechem, mga kalalakihan, at gumawa sila ng formal na usapan. No? Sabi dito, okay, so nangyari ang usapan, and every male was circumcised according to the covenant with Abraham. And the people of Shechem thought that it was a good agreement. Now, sabi dito, 3 days later, when they were still in pain, ikatlong araw, yun yung talagang helpless na helpless. Kasi yung unang araw, pwede pa. Pero yung ikatlong araw, yan yung helpless na helpless yung mga taong ito. Aba, bumira ang dalawang anak ni Jacob, si Simeon at si Levi. Bumira sila. Pinaghiganti nila si Dina at pinagpapatay si Amor, si Shechem, at lahat ng mga lalaki sa syudad. Talaga hindi makalaban yung mga ito. Nakasaya sila. So, now, bakit nagalit si Jacob? Diba? Okay lang yun. Buti nga, pinaghiganti yung kapatid. Pero bakit nagalit si Jacob? Nagalit si Jacob muna sapagkat ito ay formal na usapan. It was word of honor. It was word of honor. You know, during those times, they have better honor. it was word of honor. It was word of honor. You know, during those times, they have better honor than the senators and the congressmen. They have a better sense of honor. No? So, it was word of honor. Kaya kinagalitan ni Jacob itong dalawang anak niyang si Simeon at si Levi. Now, itong pagkagalit na ito ni Jacob actually will have a long-term consequence. What is the long-term consequence? Simeon and Levi will not have land during the time when land will be given to the tribes. These two will not have lands. They will actually be disinherited from the land. Yun yung parang naging long-term consequence ng kanilang ginawang pagsalungat, no? Sa usapan na pinasukan ni Jacob at yung kanyang mga ibang anak. No? Levi, of course, will be the tribe of the priests, and they will not have land under Moses because they will take care of the temple. Simeon will not be given a separate land because when the time of Moses will come, the tribe of Simeon will be too small to have land. So, they will be one of the very first tribes na madi-disperse. So, they will be too small to have a land of their own. So, ang mangyayari, ang magiging tahanan nila will be inside the territory of the tribe of Judah, which is the biggest tribe. The tribe from where David and Solomon will come. No? The tribe of Judah. Judah is not the eldest son. Judah is son number 4. So, yung unang tatlong anak, si Ruben, si Simeon, si Levi, they all fall out of grace. And therefore, during the time already of the keeping of the lands, it will be the fourth son, Judah, and the tribe of Judah that will be favored. Kasi yung unang tatlong mga panganay na tribo will fall out of grace, one by one. So nakita natin kung ano yung dahilan na nag-fall out of grace si Simeon at si Levi. Later on, you will also see bakit naman si Ruben afterwards will also fall out of grace. And that will justify the fourth son taking the lead from all the 12 tribes of Israel. So, yun po yung mga developments dito sa dalawang chapter na atin pong binasa ngayon. Okay, una, bago natin pasukin ang time ng reflection, may mga tanong kayo sa kwento. Kwento muna. Meron kayong hindi naintindihan? Kaya makikita natin iba talaga yung malayo yung culture dito. So, although it's good to know the development sa Genesis kasi nga ito magiging parang basis ng mga susunod na mga events ng Bible. So, you cannot understand the succeeding stories of the Bible without Genesis. Kasi even yung mga priority ni Judah, bakit si Judah, all of them are settled in this primary book. Judah, bakit si Judah, all of them are settled in this primary book of Genesis. Dito nag-ugat ang lahat. Kaya nga Genesis. Okay. So kung walang tanong sa mga kwento, atin na ngayong tignan, ano naman yung mga realizations, yung mga lessons na pwede po nating makuha sa kwentong ating binasa ngayong gabi. Diba sabi natin, the value of the stories of the Bible is that they are lessons for us, no? Hindi lang ito history, no? Ito po ay salita ng Diyos in the sense na may mga lessons na tinanabas dito, no? By the way, I think now you begin to have an idea why there was a time in the history of the church that this book, this Bible, was a forbidden book. Kasi mo nagtaka, bakit matagal na panahon, Father, na yung Bible hindi natin ginagamit sa simbahan, sa Catholic Church? Matagal, totoo yan. Kasi for a long time, the Bible was part of the list of forbidden books to be read. The reason being, yung mga kwento kasi rito, maraming PG-13. Na kung mali ang pagkakaintindi, binasa mo lang na ganyan, baka iba ang makuha mong message. So, you have stories about violence. You have stories about vengeance. You have stories of polygamy. Isipin mo kung ina-idolize mo si David, tapos nakita mo si David pala, Father, 8 asawa. Si Solomon, Father, mas marami. But they are considered great men of the Old Testament. So, isipin mo kung gano'n ang pumasok sa'yo. Hindi magtatayo ka ng sarili mong kulto sa banahaw. So, yun ang problema. Kaya, a long time, the Bible was really a forbidden book. But if you dig deep, ang ano lang naman kasi dito is that you have first to study the story based on the cultural background para makita mo kung ano yung mga parte ng kwento na kondisyon ng culture at ng panahon. Matapos mong makuha yun, maitabi, then now you can try to see without those cultural bias, ano yung message that shines out. Okay, so ang unang-unang message, palagay ko na napakaganda po ditong ma-pick up natin is the message about prudence. Yeah. Prudence. So, Jacob, sabi natin, was tuso. Tama, tuso. Pero, hindi lamang siya tuso. Jacob also had prudence. Hindi siya yung taong basta-basta nadadala. Ito sinabi ng kapatid, okay na. Ito yung sinabi ng isa, okay na. You see that one of the secrets of the greatness of Jacob was that aside from his human shrewdness, he was humanly shrewd, but on the other side, on the spiritual side, he was a prudent man. Who else was a prudent man in the Bible? Joseph. Joseph. That's why he did not decide right away on Mary. He slept to allow God to give a signal. Yeah. So, prudence is a spiritual virtue. Prudence actually makes us discern what is truly good in every circumstance. Kung hindi ka prudent na tao, baka lahat ng pasukin mong sitwasyon ay pahamak ka. So, prudence is a spiritual virtue. In fact, in Proverbs chapter 14 verse 15, yan. Proverbs, Book of Wisdom to. Proverbs 14 verse 15, sabi doon, the prudent man looks where he is going. Yan. No? So, hindi arya ng arya. No? Talagang maliban sa pinagdadasalan mo yan, dapat pag-isipan mo rin yan. Kasi pag arya ka ng arya, yan yung taong tarantado. Madaling mataranta. Diba? Tarantado. So, ang kulang ng taong yan is prudence. No? So, prudence guides the reason. Maring ikaw ay matalino, maring ikaw ay intellectually sharp, pero it is prudence that guides the reason towards the proper action. May mga taong matalino, pero it does not follow that they do right things. No? Kasi yung talino nila, hanggang doon lang. Pag nag-desisyon na, iba na. So, hindi nila alam ilagay sa timing, no? Yung kanilang action. Kasi pag prudent ka, maliban sa tama yung gagawin mo, dapat ang tinitignan mo rin dyan ay timing. No? Tama yung timing. Kasi crucial yung timing. No? At yung proper way to do it. No? So, makita niya si Jacob talagang pines. Pines. No? So, sabi niya doon sa kanyang kapatid, sige, mauna ka na. Kaya ko na to. No? Hindi niya sinabi mauna ka na kasi hindi kita pinagkakatiwalaan. Kung gano'n ang pagkakasabi mo, gera yun. No? Kaya minsan nasa pagsasalita din eh. No? Nasa pagsasalita. How you're going to carry. In another spiritual reading book, sabi po, prudence is actually the charioteer of all virtues. May charioteer. Diba yung chariot yung yan yung sakayan na iniina ng kabayo. Mabilis to, mabilis na sa Ito yung mga ito ang mga tangkiligera nila naman. Ito ang tangkiligera. Kung wala ka nito, talo ka sa gera. Kasi ang meron ka lang, infantry, foot soldier lang. Ito, mabibilis yan eh. Usually, yung mga wheels niya, may mga spikes pa yan. Para hindi mo malapitan. Kasi pagka gumugulo na, nilapitan mo. Patay ka. So, but a chariot with a horse, without a charioteer, has no direction. It's the charioteer who drives the horse to victory. So sabi dito, prudence is the charioteer of all virtues. Kahit magaling ka, sabi ko nga sa'yo, very intellectual ka, pag wala kang prudence, delikado. Kahit na mabait ka, super bait, pero wala kang prudence, naku, hindi ka nga tarantado, tama ka naman. Magsasamantala ka. Kaya, very important yung prudence. meekness. And that is what Jacob manifested sa kanyang encounter with Esau. No? Okay, another lesson that we can take from the encounter of Jacob and Esau is that aside from prudence, Jacob had another beautiful virtue. Meekness. Meekness. What is meekness? Meekness, the other translation of meekness is lowly, to be lowly. Hindi lonely, ha? Lowly. Marunong magpakababa. Makita nyo, yun ang ginamit ni Jacob na sandata nung nagkaharap sila ni Esau. No? So, if prudence is the charioteer of all virtues, sabi nila, meekness is the greatest weapon against anger. You cannot win kung ang ibabanat mo ay anger to anger. Subukan yung mag-asawa yan. That is the shortcut to hiwalayan. Anger to anger. Pero kung yung isa angry, ikaw ay tahimik lang. Meek as a lamb. It is actually the great weapon against rage, against anger. Meekness is like throwing water to a blazing fire. Kaya, yun din ang, kaya wala magawa sa isaw. Ang gagawin mo dun. So, Jacob surely knew how to find his way. Alam niya kung ano yung capability ng kanyang kapatid. Kung laban sa laban, hindi ka mananalo kay Esau. Hunter to eh. Hunter to. So, bali wala sa kanya mga oso at mga liyon. Hunter yan. Kaya kung ang ibabanat mo lakas sa lakas, talo pa. Jacob used the other way. Meekness. And that is one of the things that is also very important in life. There are times when you win a situation not in a position of formidable strength, but in meekness. In meekness. Then of course, the other thing that we take note in chapter 33 ay tama yung sinabi ni Rebecca nung pinaghiwalay niya yung magkapatid. Time heals. Time heals. And this is what happens. After 20 years, wala na. Wala na yung fire ni Esau. So, there are really situations where the only way to heal is to allow time. Time to temper the wounds. Okay? Now, let's go naman dito sa chapter 34. Dito sa chapter 34, I think my dear brothers and sisters, the most important lesson that we learn here is how futile it is for an evil act to remedy another evil. So, mali talaga yung nangyari na binayolate ni Shechem si Dina. Mali. Pero, hindi rin umandar yung ginawa ng magkapatid na they tried to remedy an evil situation by committing another evil. So Jacob did not tolerate it. And later on, history will show what will happen. So there is no such thing as a possible triumph of evil, no, over another. Palaging magkakaroon ng complications afterwards. Then another thing that we notice dito sa chapter 34 ay yung pong halaga ng pagkukontrol ng passion. What brought Shechem against Dinah was passion. Let's say it's the passion of a desperate love. Hindi niya na kung gagawin niya dito sa gustong-gusto niya mapangasawa. No? But at the same time, it is also the same passion, negative passion, that makes Simeon and Levi do something that they will regret the rest of their lives. At magkakaroon ng consequence sa kanilang mga descendants. No? So, passion. Passion is a very strong emotion. So strong that it can blind one's reasoning. Meron tayo tinatawag ng mga crimes of passion. So, passion. There are times when passion is good, when it is only positive. Kasi alam niyo, passion, dalawa yan. Pwedeng maging positive, pwedeng maging negative. No? So, halimbawa, mercy, compassion is passion. Pero yun passion on the positive side. While violence, rage, is passion on the negative side. So, we just have to know how to control. Alam niyo yung mga Romans, sabi nila, virtue lies in the middle. Yeah. The Romans always spoke about being temperate. Gitna lang. Moderate. Temperate. Okay. Then, the other thing that is very important to take note also dito sa chapter na ito, and I think it is a lesson that we can take as a last lesson for the evening. We are being reminded in chapter 34 that the cause of justice, yung paghahanap ng justisya, the cause of justice has to be done with caution. The cause of justice has to be done with caution. Justice is a very important virtue. Tama po yun. Pero, if we are not cautious with justice, there is a very thin line of difference between justice and aggression. Kaya, hindi, mahirap ayusin yung mga gera eh. Kasi sasabihin ng isa, gumera kami kasi ang hinahanap lang naman namin ay katarungan. Pero, it can happen na nasobrahan. You no longer see justice, but the other side will see aggression. Very thin line of difference yan. Yung justice and aggression. Kaya we have to be very careful. No? So, justice is a very good value. Virtue yan. But take care how you interpret it. Another community, we are taking the Psalms. Psalm 17 is the prayer of a man who has been victimized and he comes to God for protection. No? But I'm sharing this tonight. I'm just reminded, which is better? Mercy or justice? Is God merciful or is God just? Alam nyo, mahirap paghiwalayin yung mercy and justice. I'll tell you why. Kung ikaw ang biniktima, you will ask God for mercy. But you will ask God that He be merciful to you by being just. That is the prayer of the victim. Panginoon, maawa ka. Ibaba mo ang katarungan. Kita nyo na. Pinagdingit yung dalawa. Kaya mahirap Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin hanggang saan ang mercy, hanggang saan ang justice. Nasaan ka sa sitwasyon? Ano ang problema? Kung ikaw ang nang-agrabyado, hahanapin mo yung mercy. Pero kung ikaw ang inagrabyado, hihingin mo yung awa ng Diyos kasama ang kanyang katarungan. That's why, before God, the two actually are almost the same. They come together. Mercy and justice come together. See, if you just pursue justice without the limit, may problema. You can go overboard. Like what happens to Simeon and Levi in the story. So I think those are the things that we can get from the lesson this evening. No? So sa susunod po ay itutuloy natin ang pag-andar ni Jacob patungo na sa Bethel. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, yung pagpasok niya ng Shechem is just en route to another place, and that is Bethel. And we will see what will happen in Bethel for our next Bible study. Magandang gabi po.